Welcome to episode 4 of From Dirt We Grow. I am your host, Stephanie Kendall. Thank you so much for being here. And just as a reminder, I want to make sure you hook me up with the LSB. Like, subscribe, bell, and please share with me in the comments, with your friends and family, with each other, so we can keep formulating solutions. All right, so in this episode, I want to dig deeper into some of the real problems across the board and toss out some real common sense solutions rather than these band-aids that are slapped on them so adversely. So let's talk about our tax money. How it's spent can make or break the health of society and, of course, our economy. There are way too many government or taxpayer funded programs that just are not being examined and not corrected with a commonsensical approach. Let's look at some of these things I'm talking about. This first one is long overdue for a complete overhaul. It's the prison system. There are so many ways this whole broken, damaging operation is run. But on this topic of our tax spending dollars, there are so many better uses for the money than building more prisons. If the money was put toward real programs to help individuals, such as rehabilitation, job training, and mental health services, the need for more prisons would greatly reduce. Right now, prisons are functioning like a revolving door, giving a false narrative that the obvious use of funds would be to build more prisons. This is not the case. Right now, jails and prisons are, instead of a place for its inhabitants to gain their own respective skills needed to be a productive member of society, they're acting as like the social network for criminals, sharing shady ideas with and connecting to more criminalistic minded people. So rather than the billions spent on the focus of housing more inmates, the focus of the spending should be redirected toward changing those doors that revolve into doors of opportunity and tapping into their individual potential by individualizing evaluations followed by the appropriate rehabilitation program. While we're on the subject of prison reform, let me also point out the detriment of background checks. It should honestly be a form of discrimination to deny work based on one's past. Not only does it keep those convicted in a cycle of poverty, crime, and ultimately recidivism, but it continues to punish them after already having served time for the crime. So this takes us right into another big issue, which is the education system. And it's not much help as far as preparing us for the real world. Standardized tests and outdated curriculums do not cater to the average student. After our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, real world skills such as financial literacy, vocational training, critical thinking, among other valuable lessons, should be introduced, as well as a more individualized approach to teaching based on the students' differing ways of learning that will benefit them much more than the standardized approach. Just as there are different ways of learning, there should be different ways of teaching. Again, evaluate the students, class them appropriately according to optimal learning method, and many more will thrive. As a proudly diverse nation of citizens, we have fallen back on standard methods for far too long. The time has come for a more advanced, diverse, individualized approach to a plethora of situations, and at the top of the list is the education of our youth. And speaking of thriving, if we made healthcare for the people, not for the profits, America could once again thrive too. We spend more on healthcare than any other developed country, yet millions of people can't afford basic care. Shift the system from profit-driven to patient-driven. Preventative care from doctors and hospitals is almost non-existent due to the fact that they'd rather profit from the pharmaceutical companies than care for humanity properly. So rather than suggesting simple changes to diet or lifestyle or remedies depending on your symptoms or diagnosis, they push drugs and medications on you that aren't actually always necessary. If our taxes are hard worked for money we give up for programs that are supposed to add to our quality of life, are there for our support, shouldn't we have a say in how they're used? Why doesn't the government need to have complete transparency to the public, justifying every tax dollar spent? And on that note, why can't we, as the people, have a bureau that upholds our basic rights, that holds our public officials accountable when there's deviation from their duties of serving the people? In today's greed fueled, power hungry, ego driven America, where the people suffer and corruption runs unchecked, that would be a great program for a portion of our money to be directed. But as always, I have touched on only a few points of discussion in this show. So many more to highlight, which is why it's so important for you to LSB me so we can continue to, dare I say, make America good. No, I can't say that. Let's unite for the betterment of the people. And with that, I'm going to invite you to please join me next week when we're going to focus on one single topic that deserves its own show. We're going to dissect this whole hamster wheel that we are spinning round and round in. A lot of you can probably guess what we're going to be talking about, but be sure to tune in next week and see if you are right and to see how far we're going to break this thing down. I am Stephanie Kendall. This is From Dirt We Grow. And thank you so much for listening, everyone.